Hey everybody, today is June 28th, 2023. I'm Gene, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of Hanging with Uncle. Hope everybody is doing well, had a great weekend, and before we get started, we're really trying to grow our channel, so if you have not already, please hit that subscribe button, and if you have already hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, click that thumbs up, or you can do both. Hit the subscribe and like, we appreciate it. And over on the far right side, you see that little bell, that's the notification bell. Click that and you'll be notified whenever we go live, put out new content. So having said that, let's get into it because it's been kind of an important week so far, and it's just Wednesday, okay? I was set today to talk about the minimum wage law and what we consider small business and how the two work together to suppress the wage across this country. But I think a little something more pressing has come up, and it should sound alarm bells for everybody that wants to support and defend the Constitution of the United States and not a political party. So again, you can go to the news to get this information. It's not breaking. I'm not trying to pass out anything you don't already know, but just from my perspective, what I see sitting at home watching things unfold, it's clear to me what the goals of the GOP are and what Republicans are trying to do. And that was clear with the Moore versus Harper case, which was decided by the Supreme Court. So if you don't know, Moore v. Harper was the case that Republicans sued because they tried to enact legislation that gave them total authority over federal elections, which means, in a nutshell, the people can vote one way, but if the legislature doesn't like it, they can do what they want, which is what Cadet Bonespur's plan was in the first place, to reject the state electors that sent the correct electoral college results to DC, and would allow these states to send their own electors against the will of the people and the voters. And the Supreme Court said no. Okay, long story short, but I'm going to say why this is more important to me and why I pay attention. Because this was specific to federal cases. So now, what about state-run cases? Because Moore v. Harper was generated in the state of North Carolina, which is a very purple state, right? The voting breakdown is pretty equal, about 50-50 Democrats and Republicans, but yet, because of gerrymandering, Republicans control 71% of the state legislature because they've drawn the maps to create their voters instead of letting the voters pick their candidates and vote for their candidates. And this is going to continue to happen along state lines. But this is what's important, because North Carolina was just the test case. There are one of 7 swing states in which these fake electors that Cadet Bonespurs and his team were trying to push through so they could illegally maintain power and stop the peaceful transition of power according to the people. Had this gone through, you would have seen laws like this in majority state legislative states like Wisconsin and Nevada and Arizona, Georgia, that would have allowed this law to take place. Then, miraculously in 2024, Cadet Bonespurs loses again, but those state legislatures say, well, we don't like that, and these are who we're going to send, and guess what? Now we got to deal with this moron in the White House, and if we survive 4 more years, if he doesn't give everything away to, Vladimir over there in Moscow. So he's a threat to our national security and is unworthy to be president. But that's what they're trying to do. And there's a common denominator here in all these threads in all these different states. And all these states that are gerrymandered, like Wisconsin and North Carolina and Texas, given the opportunity, we would see a state of Gilead, all right, in Handmaid's Tale. And I'm not being hyperbolic either. I honestly believe that's what they want. Look at what they're trying to do. Look at the similarities between the dystopian book and what Republicans are trying to do. They want to control women's bodies, force them to have babies. Okay? That sound like the Handmaid's Tale? All right. Control, white power, white men rule everything. That's what they're trying to do. And if you look at these states, they are all controlled by white men. Look at what they did in Tennessee with Representatives Jackson and Jacobs. But anyway, I'm getting kind of sidetracked here. The important thing is that now that this case has been ruled unconstitutional, and the GOP is going to have to regroup in order to find another way to make sure they always have power, because that's what this is about. It's not about free and fair elections. It's about them having power, period. So before they can regroup and think of another plan, it is very important in 2024 to vote, because I tell you what, if you're one of those people that say, well, my vote doesn't count because it doesn't matter, it's rigged anyway. If you're talking about the Electoral College, I have no argument with you. I agree with you. We should abolish the Electoral College. However, when it comes to your state elections, again, know your civics. Your state legislatures and senators are where these laws are passed, where these gerrymandered maps are drawn so that they can stay in power. That is one vote that is just in your district. And a lot of times, so like here in Arizona, it is a very tight majority that Republicans have in the House and Senate, right? And I would say that the total number of votes probably needed to swing control for Democrats to get control of the House and Senate here in Arizona is probably about 2,000 votes. Because it's just a couple of hundred votes per race that separate some of these races, in which allow the GOP to stay in power because you think your vote doesn't matter. So, all I can say is if you want a different result, you have to do something differently. If you say, I want things to change, but do not vote, you are not doing anything to help yourself or your community. Do something you've never done before if you want to get a different result. And again, for me here in Arizona, I vote at home. I get my ballot in the mail. I have the luxury of sitting in peace and quiet when I get to read my ballot, see who's on the ballot and what they stand for, the ballot initiatives, how that's going to impact the state of Arizona and me and my taxes. And I put my ballot in the mail. It's too easy. So it is very important now, especially to protect our social equalities, to vote, to make sure that we protect Social Security, we protect Medicare, we protect the child tax credit, that we have any chance whatsoever at having more affordable colleges and universities, or public education, or things that are very important that will help us as a civilization advance. That's what's on the ballot. And I'm not asking you to look at a party. Look who's running in your district. See what they stand for. Do their policies and what they stand for align with anything that we just talked about? That's the candidate you want to vote for. You don't want to pick a party. Pick the candidate. All right? Like Liz Cheney said, stop electing idiots. And then we won't have people like Kevin McCarthy and Marjorie Trader Green and Bimbo Boebert and Matt the child molester Gates in office and all those yahoos. So vote. It is that important, and that is how we stop this nonsense, stop these unconstitutional laws that want white supremacy to rule, because that's what this is about. If we can control the elections, we control everything, and it's just white men that are trying to do this. So keep that in mind. It's very important. I wanted to get that off my chest, and get that information out to you just from my perspective and what I see coming, because I promise you, in my entire lifetime, I have not seen Republicans stop. They played the long game and waited and waited and waited over 50 years to get Roe overturned, but they did it. They never stopped trying, and they will never stop trying to take away your voting rights, your freedoms, and your money. So I don't vote Republican, and if there's a Democrat that's a dumbass, I won't vote for him either. I know how to leave my ballot blank on that. So it's about the candidate, not the party. Pay attention, all right? So stay safe out there, and Zane and I look forward to seeing you on Friday. Good night, everyone.